Today I have a tutorial to show how to add closed captioning to your YouTube videos using Adobe Premiere. I have a short video that I've edited and I'm ready to transcribe. And first of all, I need to mention that you need to actually be in Adobe Premiere 2023 because 2022 doesn't offer the editing features that Adobe Premiere 2023 offers. So the version I'm in is 23.4.0. So then to transcribe from scratch, and I have my speaking track on audio 1, and I have that labeled as dialogue. And then I go to transcript, which is available from window text. And then I go to the menu on the right. You can see some of these options here for editing, and this is what's available in 2023. The in-out automatically set in-out points, the edit, the lift and extract editing tools. So then what I do first is I go to Adobe Premiere Preferences, Transcription. For future imports, I have these selected. Automatically transcribe clips, enable language auto detection in English. So whenever I import a new file, it's going to automatically load in a transcript. So then I won't have to do this following step, which is to generate static transcript. Now it's going to overwrite the one that I was working with earlier, which is fine. And I make sure that English is selected. There are other languages available. And I'm the only one talking, so I'm going to say no, don't separate speakers. And then I'm not going to pick the entire track because I've got some music on a bottom audio layer. So I'm going to pick audio 1, which is my speaking track. And then I'm going to say transcribe. And this is just going to transcribe this audio track, my speaking audio track right here. You have the option of setting in-out points if there's just a segment of the audio track that you want to transcribe, but in this case I'm going to transcribe the entire video because it's only going to pick up this one segment here because that's all I have. If I had some audio on this track and then again later on this same track, it would pick up the whole thing unless I set in-out points. Okay, so here's my transcript that's been generated, and you can also add the speaker. I'm just going to edit the speaker name. I'm going to put me, I'm the only one speaking, but if you had different speakers, you could label them as well. And when you set multiple speakers, it will detect the different voices, so you can label them. So I have my transcript that was generated. And now what I need to do in order to edit it live and have it reflected in the timeline, I need to generate text-based editing transcript. So it's going to replace my static transcript with a dynamic transcript that is sourced from the clips in your sequence. So I'm going to continue, and it's generating this dynamic sequence, which is going to be useful for the text-based editing. It makes the editing process much easier. I used to do all this by hand. And since I've set in my preferences, it will automatically generate this dynamic transcript that I can just go right into editing. So my text is now dynamic after having gone through that process. And now I'm ready to start editing and have it reflected in my timeline and in my final video. So I'm going to just start playing this. Today I have a tutorial to talk about brand guidelines, what they are. Okay, so I'm just using the space bar because the key commands will still work, the timeline commands. So I just did a Google search for big brands, and you can see some of the ones that I would say have some pretty comprehensive guidelines would include companies like Google, Starbucks. So I just review this transcript and see what things I've said, etc., that are just repeated because I was doing a retake or whatever. In reading this over, I can tell that there's some words that aren't correct, so I just hit this editing tool and I'll just correct some of the spelling, terms and things that need to be used, terms that were transcribed improperly. So I'm going to start playing here. Like a sepia tone or something, or gray. Okay, I'm going to take that line out. And I have my in-out key set, so automatically sets in-out points in the timeline based on what I select here in my transcript. So I'm going to say that I want to delete this section, starting with for example, and I'm just going to do an extract, remove it, and then I'm going to play this section. Colors, effects, acceptable effects, it would need to be certain. Okay, so that whole line is gone. You can make further adjustments here in the timeline if you want, but text-based editing process takes most of the work out of the editing for this type of format. Interviews, tutorials, that kind of thing where there's a lot of speaking. But it was all about people doing things. And then the brand elements, it'll outline the brand elements. Okay, I'm going to take out, it'll outline the brand elements. I'm just going to remove that. See how that reads afterward. Okay, let's say I'm done with my editing process. So you want to go through, read it through, and just make sure that things are spelled properly, etc. And then you have two options once your transcription is the way you would like it to be. You can do either the burn-in captions when you export your video for YouTube, or you can do a separate SRT document that you can add when you upload your video as a separate caption file. I'm going to do the second route, which is just uploading a separate SRT file. I'm going to create captions from my transcript. The standard format for closed captioning is this one, CEA 708. It's a standard in the US, so I'm going to pick that one. Captioning format, you can put a gap between your captions. You can select just single lines. You can adjust the duration and the character length, but for my purposes, I'm just going to leave this default. Create captions. Okay, so you can see that the captions are created and automatically placed on the top layer. So then when I'm ready to export my video, you'll be able to see it here unless you turn off this layer. That's my caption layer. So now I'm ready to export. I have my file name the way I want, destination folder set up, my preset. I'm going to just pick a standard preset for YouTube. I'm going to turn captions on, and as I mentioned, you can either burn captions into your video, which then will appear embedded into your video when you upload it into YouTube, or you can create a separate file. And I'm going to pick that. I'm going to pick SRT format, which is the standard format for YouTube. You can also include separate styling, but I'm not going to do that. Then I'm just going to export. You also have the option of using media encoder, which can be a little bit faster, I think. And also it's nice that it works in the background so you can continue working. In YouTube, the way I would upload an SRT, subtitle, or closed captioning file would be to upload file here. With timing, you want to pick with timing so that it syncs to the caption file. And then I go to my secondary SRT file, has a suffix.srt, open. And then you can see all my captions are here. And then actually, if I want to make any changes, I just go back to my Adobe Premiere file so that I'm not working outside of my main production environment. So then you can see the here where it's have a tutorial to talk about brand guidelines, what they are, why they're needed, who uses them. So that syncs up nice, and then when you're done, just click done. And then that will appear with your video. And that's basically it, how you would set up captions, set up a static transcript file, or alternatively, set your preferences, your Adobe Premiere preferences, to generate automatic captioning as a dynamic text file, and then so that you can sync your timeline edits to your text-based edits, and then how to export, how to set up a closed captioning file here by going from transcripts to creating your caption file, and then how to export your media, your video, and your caption file as either a burn-in, so it's all in one export, or as a separate SRT, a closed captioning file, which you can upload to YouTube. So I hope this is helpful. Please like, subscribe, share. Thank you for watching.